And the longer you're exposed to this, the more likely you are to become sensitive.
You know, how about with teens and young children? It seems that the news is starting to cover this. It's really where the science is. In fact, in Japan, I know, and you've helped me understand this, there's regulations against teens and young children using this, 16 and under. So what's the science behind this?
That's in China, actually.
Oh, China, right.
And quite a few countries now have come out with warnings that young people should not use cell phones. As a matter of fact, there was a study in Sweden by Dr. Leonard Hardell, and he found that if you were under the age of 20, when you first started using a cell phone, your risk of developing a tumor associated with the head was 400% higher than without using a cell phone, and that's after 10 years.
Great, so. I started at about 17. You know, is this reversible? I mean, give us some good news here. I mean, from what science is looking at, it must be looking at sort of how, we can reverse trends. I mean, not necessarily the cancers itself, because once you have cancer, there's treatment. Obviously, we know about that. But is this reversible, or do we see an impending doom trend here?
The more you use the technology, the more likely you are to have an adverse reaction to it, a sensitivity or the tumors that we're talking about, or miscarriages or problems with sperm. So it really affects multiple parts of your body. However, if you stop using the technology, reduce your exposure, begin to take antioxidants and clean up your system, build up your immune system, then a lot of this is reversible, including some of the tumors.
Yeah, I'm even jumping ahead of the game here because I want to get to sort of the meat of what we can do about it. We're definitely going to be talking about this later on in the show, what you can do. Simple things without throwing out the technology, because what we're not doing here today is we're not, this is not fear-mongering, right? And this is not about, fanaticism. We're presenting good science. So, talk to me just to start off. I mean, I've got a paper here, and you did this, specific to DECT, which is from, phones, the cordless phone centers within the home. So explain this this study here.
That's right. Well, a cordless phone, it's called a DECT phone. Yeah. And what's wrong with these particular phones is that they radiate all the time. Your cell phone will only radiate when you're talking on it, when you're using it. And it will periodically send out a beacon signal asking where the nearest tower is. So that's what you're exposed to with your cell phone. When it comes to these cordless phones, you don't have to be using it. They're just radiating all the time, and so your exposure is very high. Now, there are people who are electrically hypersensitive who complain about heart palpitations, heart arrhythmia, pressure on the chest, almost as though if they're having a heart attack. And it's an anxiety kind of induced response. And so we decided to do a pilot study where we got 25 people initially from Colorado, and we exposed them to these cordless phones, and we had them with a heart monitor, and we simply recorded their heart rate. And we found that about 40% of them reacted very strongly to these cordless phones. They either developed an arrhythmia or something called tachycardia, which is a very rapid heart rate.
Talk to me about Wi-Fi's. Wi-Fi's in the classroom is a children concern, as well as hydro lines. I mean, is this different than cell phones or the DECT, phone base that you're talking about?
The Wi-Fi in the classroom is very similar to the DECT phone. Indeed, the phone that we used had a it's got a certain frequency. It's 2.4 gigahertz frequency. And what's happening now in schools in Ontario is children are complaining about heart arrhythmia, and a number of them have gone to their cardiologists and are now wearing heart monitors.
Yeah, in fact, during the past few years, you even report 2 different students, also in the Barrie area here, experienced exercise-related sudden cardiac arrest. Fortunately, got help and they survived, but others, it may in fact be linked to some of this exposure.
That's right. The doctors who are now studying sudden cardiac arrest among young people are saying that it's on the increase, and they have no idea what's causing it. And I suspect at least part of the problem could be all of this wireless technology that's surrounding us.
Super fast, and 10 seconds or less, hydro lines, and we'll certainly talk a little bit more about it, but is that also just as risky?
Hydro lines are somewhat different. Young people who live near hydro lines have a greater risk of developing childhood leukemia, and that's been well documented.
Wow.
But it's a different frequency and it's slightly different part of the spectrum.
Thanks, Magda. So you're going to stick around, and up next, we are going to measure the EMF levels from some popular gadgets found in your home. And 3 lucky callers tonight will be getting a copy of my book, The Antioxidant Prescription, and they're going to get a copy of Dr. Magda Havis's book, Public Health SOS. So I want you to make sure you call us or email us, and of course, tweet us tonight with your questions. Stay right there. We're back. We're talking more about invisible toxins. So we know that many of our everyday products emit EMF, but what about another level? So, what about if Health Canada doesn't deem it dangerous? This is my question today. How can it hurt you if it's not deeming it dangerous? And joining me now are Dr. Magda Havis and Kevin Byrne, EMF Solutions. And let's start off by testing some of these products here. In fact, before we even test them, let's get clear for everybody on what some of these sources of dirty electricity, to start there, are. What is dirty electricity? What are the sources of it?
Okay, Bryce, let's try to first separate the wireless radiation from the radiation that rides on our electrical circuit. So what's in our wires is 60 hertz AC. It's a nice smooth sine wave, 60 cycles per second. We've added all of these electronics, and all these electronics have power supplies in them. So those power supplies start and stop the electricity, you know, 20 kilohertz, 100 kilohertz, so 100,000 times a second they turn it off and on. All of that starting and stopping puts this high-frequency energy back down the circuit.
Okay, and that's what's needed, or it's not needed?
It's not needed.
Okay.
It was never intended to be there. But as we've added more electronics to our grids, compact fluorescents, dimmer switches, we've created a lot more of this dirty electricity in the last 10 or 15 years.
The technology age. So you've got some devices here, and these devices actually measure what?
Okay. Well, why don't we start with the dirty electricity meter that Magda's holding. Okay. Now, that was developed for the Kazakhstan Health Ministry to measure the amount of radiation on the circuits, because in Russia and Eastern European countries, they understand that this stuff affects us a lot more than maybe we understand at this point in Canada. So that meter was developed for the Kazakhstan Health Ministry, and it measures the amount of this high-frequency energy on a circuit. So typically things that we have in our home now that create this would be compact fluorescents are a major contributor. So you probably heard a lot of people who are having poor reactions after they install a bunch of compact fluorescent light bulbs. Dimmer switches, computers, anything electronic. Okay, so anything with a circuit board inside of it, it has to run at a lower voltage than our 60 hertz, 120 volt AC power.
Okay, Maggie, you've done a lot of research in this area, and the question I really have for you to start off with before we get into some of this testing here is are we more concerned, less concerned, equally as concerned with this dirty electricity as we are with, cell phone, EMF, or, this DECT out of the bases we talked about in the first segment? I mean,
well, I think we're equally concerned. One simply comes through the air, the other goes along the wire and then radiates from the wire. Okay. They both make people sick. It's different illnesses that have been associated with them. This one you can clean up fairly easily. The other one's slightly more difficult. So getting rid of...
So if it's easy, let's start there, because Kevin, EMF Solutions Canada, what you do is you go into corporate settings as well as homes and you check these things and then do something about it. So again, tell us what number we're looking at here and what we can do about this.
Okay. Well, right now we've got, what are we looking at, Magda?
It's just over...
It's off scale.
2,000.
It's off scale at 2,000 because you've got a lot of fluorescent lights, you've got tons of electronics.
It's picking up all the kind of stuff in the studio
It's picking up everything that's affecting that circuit.
Okay, so show us what to do about it to lower that.
Well, there's a filter here, and all you do is you plug it in. Okay. And the number should come down right away.
Oh, wow, look at that, from like nearly 2,000 to 200.
That's right.
And that's safe range?
You want to be under 50. Now, it's cumulative, so you need to add several of these filters throughout your house to bring all of your circuits down below 50. So an average house is going to need about 15 to 20 filters.
Okay. This light here, this type of light, or all these types of lights, I mean, why are we looking at lights as well?
Okay, well, the compact fluorescents, everybody's installed these in the last 5 or 10 years, and I originally installed 16 of these in my house, and I developed chronic pain. I couldn't understand it. I went to my doctor and said, Doc, this is killing me. He took some x-rays, and he told me that everything looked fine. And then I happened across Professor Havis's research and found out that one of the symptoms was pain. Okay, because this affects your nerves.
I've got one at my desk at home, and my laptop over there, and you know what? It is connected to Wi-Fi. It's going to stop tonight, I promise you, after what I've learned today more recently. And I've got one of these, thinking I'm conserving electricity, right? Thinking I'm doing something good for the environment, for the footprint. It's shocking. And what shocked me even more was to learn, not that I was entirely ignorant of all this. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just thought maybe some of this was fluff, and the science wasn't yet there. After speaking to some leaders in the world, Dr. Deborah Davis, a colleague of yours, as well as Dr. George Carlo, I've come to quickly learn that, yes, the science is there. We're just not doing enough about this. It drives me nuts. I had one of these baby monitors. Let's turn this on and test some things here. So I had this baby monitor exactly up for both my children's, cribs. So what are we measuring when we're looking at a baby monitor or, one of these Wi-Fis or one of these DECTs? It's different than this dirty
That's
one, right?
correct. This is radiation that was meant to be there. Okay, the radiation on the wire wasn't really meant to be there. Okay, so all of these devices, the baby monitor, the DECT phone, and the wireless router, continually emit radiation, whether you're using the phone, whether you're on the internet. So just being around any of these devices, you're exposing yourself a great deal.
Okay, so show us. I mean, show us the difference in, using this device. Again, it's picking up radio frequency is what it's doing, right? And maybe even my cell phone as well.
Why don't we start with your cell phone, Bryce?
Okay, so I'll turn on my cell phone. Now, does it have to be sending or receiving anything?
Yeah, go ahead and make a phone call.
Okay, let me just call home here. Whoa. Was that
picking up all the radiation from all of the wireless
and maybe somewhat so it says calling, and I understand too that when it says calling, it's a lot more emission happening at that moment in time as well when you're actually using this. I'm calling my wife on her cell, seeing if she'll pick it up. By the way, she's a huge advocate of not using the cell phones or these wireless technologies. Certainly these bases, she's banned them, in our home for the most part. And I thought, and this is a question for you, Magda, I thought, maybe she was a little bit, fanatical. She also, sorry, sweetie, for divulging this information, she suffers from Raynaud's on the bottom of her feet. I'm wondering, are people with these kinds of predispositions already to autoimmunity, like multiple sclerosis, Raynaud's, vascular issues, and so forth, are they more predisposed or susceptible?
Definitely. We've actually worked with people who have multiple sclerosis, and when we clean up their environment, their symptoms begin to disappear. We've worked with diabetics, their blood sugar goes down. Young children who have asthma, the asthma goes away. They don't require any kind of inhalers. So it's just amazing how people can actually benefit when their environment is cleaned up.
Wow. So let's test one more thing. I saw you plug in the DECT, the one that you've done some studies on with heart, fibrillations and all kinds of weird things. So let's test the radio frequency on that. So you're measuring it by pointing it at it, and then when you point it away, what happens?
Well, as I distance myself from the device, the amount, the
we don't hear it. We don't hear it going all off the charts here.
That's right. So what people need to do is distance themselves from these products, find safer products. There are power line routers you can use, so you can use your power lines of your house to get the signal from one room to the other. There are
using your power line.
That's right. Power line routers.
All kinds of solutions. All kinds of solutions. All right. It's already time for another break. We'll keep some of this stuff out for the last segment, perhaps, and we've got some solutions. But just before the break, EMF Solutions Canada. People can get in touch with you.
That's right.
What website in order to check their homes?
Okay, it's www.emfsolutions.ca. And we're in the Toronto area.
Excellent. Thanks, Kevin. It is time for another break. Up next, we'll talk about electrical hypersensitivity, or EHS, what it is, symptoms, and how to cope with it. Plus, again, we'll be answering your questions. 3 lucky callers tonight will receive a copy of my book, The Antioxidant Prescription. Hopefully there's some solutions in there for you. I interviewed Dr. George Carlo on the matter, and Dr. Magda Havis's book, Public Health SOS. Make sure you call us, email us, or tweet us right now. Stay tuned.
Reach us in the G.
We're back talking more about invisible toxins, and we've talked about EMFs. We've measured some levels emitted from popular products, but we're going to talk now about electrical hypersensitivity, or EHS. And just before we do, I want to clear this up. I want you to talk to this idea, Dr. Havis, about government claims and this safety code 6 before getting into EHS. So what are the government claims?
Well, the guidelines we have in Canada that are supposed to protect us are called Safety Code 6, and they've been established by Health Canada. And that particular safety code is based on a heating effect, a thermal effect. And the concept is if it doesn't heat your body, it doesn't harm you.
Okay.
Our guidelines are 100 times higher than the guidelines in Switzerland, China, Russia, Poland.
100 times higher?
That's right.
So why are they ahead of the game?
Why are the other countries ahead of the game?
They've been using them there longer?
No, because they recognize that in addition to thermal effects, there are biological effects.
Right, so we're not studying the additional effects beyond thermal, which is heat resonance.
Right. The assumption is that there are no other types of effects, and that's where the problem lies.
EHS, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, so what is that?
Well, just like you have peanut allergies or you have allergies to pollen, there are some people who are reacting to low levels of electromagnetic radiation, different types, and that's called electrohypersensitivity. So these people can't use a cell phone, they can't walk under power lines, they can't use compact fluorescent light bulbs. Their lives are really severely debilitated because of all of this wireless radiation in our environment.
And just at the break, you mentioned something that struck a chord with me, and it makes total sense, which was that certainly people that have, cumulative toxicities, of course, but mercury fillings seem to be, more grounded through electricity? They're more sensitive to the...
Well, mercury is a neurotoxin.
Right,
and if you have mercury mercury fillings, what we're finding is that there's an interaction between them. So many of the people who are electrically hypersensitive have mercury fillings. And indeed, radar operators who are also exposed to this microwave radiation, during the Vietnam War, they had to have their fillings replaced every 6 months because the microwaves dissolved the mercury, so it gets into your body and is more toxic.
You know, and this isn't just some kind of pop science. This is, you know, we're melting chocolate bars in people's pockets, right? I mean, it's not nonsense.
That's right. It's not nonsense at all.
This is kind of freaking me out a little bit here, not wanting to be all shock and awe.
Yeah.
Let's throw your website out, start to answer some questions, because you have so much on your website. It's excellent. It's
it's www.magdahavas.com.
MAGDAHAVAS.com. Ida is calling in from Thornhill. Welcome to Wild on Health, Ida.
Yes, hi, Dr. Wild.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I love your show.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Sure.
One of my girlfriends, she's pregnant. She's expecting her first baby.
Okay.
And she's always on her cell phone.
Yeah, well, you know what? Take it away from her. Throw it. It's like smoking a cigarette is the comparison these days, isn't it?
That's right. When we have pregnant women, we're told not to drink alcohol, not to take certain types of medication, not to smoke. And we should also be telling them not to use wireless technology.
Wow. Is she doing well, though, Ida?
As I know, but,
okay.
I mean...
Yeah, it's a stern recommendation at this point in time. I mean, and let's ask this question to Dr. Magda here: is that why are children, and certainly infants, why are they more susceptible?
Well, children are more susceptible to absolutely everything, whether it's chemicals in the environment or pathogens or electromagnetic energy. Indeed, in China, and we'll probably be talking about this a little later on, pregnant women wear clothing that reflects this microwave radiation back and protects the fetus in their body. And we should probably be doing that as well if we're going to use the technology.
Jan JXOXO tweets, this is a great topic. I've been using my cell phone so much lately and have been getting headaches in that exact area. You know what to do. And it's the same answer, I'm assuming. Not throw it away. Let me retract that. Not throw it away, but what? You know, I mean,
the best way to use your cell phone is not to hold it up against your head, but to actually use it in speaker mode and to put it on a table so you're not holding it. Okay. We have in the instructions with cell phones, they tell you not to hold it in your hand, keep it at least an inch away from your body, don't put it in your pocket. And so we've got to heed those warnings. That's coming directly from the industry. We're
going to talk about that more in the the last break, after the next break, rather. Gina's calling in from Etobicoke. Gina, welcome to the show.
Oh, good evening. How are you?
I'm excellent, thanks. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, our family has been taking calcium, magnesium in ionic form.
Okay.
And I read somewhere that if you expose yourself to electromagnetic waves, it damages your cells. So I was just wondering if there's any truth in that.
Well, one of the things that scientists are finding is that this radiation affects the movement of calcium between cells. So actually taking supplements is probably not a bad idea. A number of people are magnesium deficient. They also get help if they're taking vitamin B, for example, because it produces stress on your body. Vitamin D is something that we're mostly deficient in. So people who are electrically sensitive to some degree have a deficiency in certain types of chemicals in their body, and they could certainly benefit by that. But it should be done under the care of someone who understands nutrition.
And stick around, Gina, because at the end of the show, my final recommendations include some antioxidants you're going to want to learn about that help to, theoretically neutralize some of the background radiation, UV radiation, any other radiation in your environment. Let's do a quick call with Bobby. He's calling in from Mississauga. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for taking my call.
For sure.
Just a question. I'm seeing a lot of people out with their cell phones, and they're putting these little stickers, and it's supposed to reduce the frequency.
Bobby,
is that
thank
correct?
you for calling in. Thank you for the question. Are these useful? And I got to admit, I was just about to say in the segment, I've got one on the back of this phone, and after speaking to you guys, I mean, I'll answer this, start the answer. Essentially, I'm ripping this off and throwing it away. I've been diligent over the last 2 years. Why is this not working?
Well, it depends on the individual products. There are now so many products on the market. Very few of them have been tested properly. They've been tested by the company, and then it's hard to get the information from the company. We've tried to test some of these, and we don't notice any difference in the radiation.
I broke one open. It's simply just plastic. But at the next, after the next commercial break here, we're going to come back and we're going to talk all about some things that do work. I'm excited about it. So, Bobby, stick around. Everyone wants to stick around for that. Protect yourself, folks. It's leading to cancer. It's inevitable that you're going to be exposed to some level of EMF, and probably every single day, be it second-hand or firsthand. And after the break, we'll share with you some of these useful tips, very valuable tips, to help lessen your exposure. And, of course, my final recommendations. Stay with us. Welcome back to Wild on Health. EMF, electromagnetic pollution, is the fastest growing pollution on the planet. Exposure to EMF has been linked to cancer, Alzheimer's disease, autism, birth defects, accelerated aging, miscarriages, heart palpitations, multiple sclerosis, the list goes on. However, it is possible to drastically lessen your exposure to EMF in your home and in your environment. Joining me now with some tips on how to do this is Kevin Byrne, EMF Solutions, and Dr. Magda Havas. Thank you for coming back in studio here with us. Let's get right into this. So, again, a little demonstration here of some things we can do to lessen radiation exposure. You've got some really, let's start with these interesting clothing, pieces here. So what you're going to do, Kevin, is you're going to plug in the phone, right? So we're not tricking anyone here. I wouldn't do that to you. And what is this device you're holding up?
This
Looks
is a
like it's
meter.
from Star
It's called
Trek.
an electrosmog solution meter, electrosmog meter, and it measures radiation. So as soon as you plug that in, you'll hear the radiation
All right,
on
let's
this,
go ahead and plug
as
it
well
in.
as the background we've got right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's a distinctive difference than just white noise, right? So that's picking up the radiation. All right. So now,
Okay,
so
now
let's turn that off. Let's turn that off for a moment. Actually, not yet. Let's put a piece of clothing that you have over there.
Okay, well, this is material that shields it
Okay.
completely.
Wow. All right.
And so here we have, if you hold that up, it's underwear.
Okay.
And here we have something that's used for maternity.
Okay.
And once again,
You put that over top. All right.
Completely.
Now, not so much a surprise, because I told you guys at the break I was going to do this. This is my producer's scarf. Okay, so I'm going to throw my producer's scarf over top of this. And, there you go. The background radiation is not blocking it. We've tried a couple of things. Yeah, let's turn that off for now.
This
All right.
material actually has silver in it, and that's what's reflecting the radiation.
Now, that's not going to diminish the potency of your phone. It's not going to diminish the use of your cell phone.
Not at all.
Let's talk about some simple things that people can do to limit their cell phone radiation exposure. For example, just simply using a headset, right? You've got a headset in front of you.
Well, this is one of my favorite headsets because...
Looks like you're going retro there.
It does. You put your phone down and you talk on it, so you don't even have to hold the phone in your hand.
This is important, too. So not just the headset, but keeping your phone out of your pocket, away from your body.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
What about, holding the phone, other than holding the phone away from your body, what about the idea of listening more, and talking less?
Well, we can take this out and we can use it on speaker mode, but then you don't have privacy.
Right.
So apart from that, that's the best way of actually using your phone.
Okay.
Using it less. Texting is slightly better than talking, but if you're holding it very close to your body and you're a young woman or a young man, then it could potentially affect your reproductive organs.
Okay. I want to make sure no one misses this message, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to throw up some boards. Take some notes, everybody. This obviously, this is at cb24.com/wildhealth. Buy low radiation phones. Use a headset, as we just mentioned. Listen more. Talk less, hold the phone away from your body, as Magda was just saying. These are all very important things. The list goes on. Choose texting over talking. Texting is very short-lived radiation, so it takes nanoseconds versus, minutes on the phone. Poor signal, you know what? Stay off the phone because the signal is drawing a lot more radiation when it's poor. Limiting your children's phone use, that's key, and maybe not at all. And skipping, the radiation shield, which is those plastic devices, which really don't do much for you.
No.
What else?
And not keeping it in your pocket, either your chest pocket or your hip pocket, because then it's irradiating your body as well.
Other tips to limit EMF exposure?
I would say that people who have Bluetooth in their car should be using that instead of using the phone itself in their car, because the phone, the waves are bouncing all over the metal inside the car, and you're re-radiating yourself that way.
Hey, I have a quick question for you. What about GPS? Because that's in all our cars. I mean, well, what's that doing? Is that the same thing as using a cell phone?
GPS is passive. There's satellites 20 miles up in the sky, so you're receiving the EMF from the satellite. So the satellite is the actual transmitter. You just have a receiver.
Wow. Let's go to Marta, who's calling in from Oakville, and see what she has to ask. Hi, Marta.
Hi, Dr. Havas and Bryce.
Hi there.
Really enjoy your program, and I'm really glad tonight you're bringing this to the public.
Thank you.
I wondered, Dr. Havas, if you could address the new smart hydrometers.
Yes, great question.
I have one installed just outside my living room, and now I don't feel well in my favorite chair. I'm on the other side of the wall.
Very good question, because not only could it be coming from that, you'll explain also your neighbors, you know, using this. So what's
That's
this?
right.
Not only what is it, but then maybe some solution.
Well, smart meters, all homes in Ontario are going to have smart meters by the end of this last year. So many of us already have them. A lot of people contact me who have become ill. Smart meters do three things. They emit microwave radiation, and we know that's harmful. And although we've been told they only emit it for a few seconds a day, we've got smart meters that are emitting it constantly. So the information that people are getting is simply wrong.
Wow.
They also produce
Shocking.
dirty electricity, and that's making people sick. So they have to have your home filtered if you're going to go that way. And they're producing something called ground current. Now, one of the things you can ask the utility to do is to actually connect your smart meter through the phone line and send the message that way, so it's not going through the air. So if you have a smart meter on your home and you're becoming ill, contact the local utility and ask them to simply convert it into a wired system rather than a wireless system.
We're talking the break, and this surprised me as well. I can't remember the tweeter's name, but they tweeted in, you know, I'm putting up solar paneling on my cottage.
Yes.
Is that lessening my load? And your answer was shocking. Give us a quick idea.
Well, solar panels and wind turbines create dirty power, dirty electricity, and so you have to once again filter them if you're going to be using that technology.
Well, avoiding placing laptops on our laps. You saw some things go up on the screen there as well. Guys, we have to reduce that in order to, you know, let our gonads work effectively. You know, removing these electrical power cords from seating areas and all the dirty electricity. Guys, you know what? We're out of time, and thank you so much for all of your good information. emfsolutions.ca.
Correct.
All right, check your environments, and it's Magda Havas.com. It's up on the screen, and more information is on our website, of course. And thank you all for watching. Now it's time for my final recommendations. Large doses of radiation, such as X-rays or nuclear fallout, can cause cancer or death, and that's obvious to most. But scientists have known for decades now that mild to moderate radiation poisoning produces symptoms, at the very least, similar to premature aging, at the very least. What makes any radiation exposure so dangerous is that it triggers the production of something called the hydroxyl free radical. This is the most powerful deadly oxygen radical known that cannot, I repeat, cannot be neutralized by the evolved defense systems of the human body. When the body is exposed to high amounts of free radicals, then its supply of antioxidants can manage. DNA damage occurs faster than DNA can repair itself. But the long-term effects of mild to moderate forms of radiation haven't been properly or extensively studied. We've heard about some of it tonight, so I suggest for now you minimize your risk with the advice that we've given you today, but I also wanted to pass on some powerful antioxidants that you may want to consider taking on a daily basis to protect yourself from these damaging free radicals, and they are the following. My favorites in this realm: alpha-lipoic acid, liquid chlorophyll, or a greens drink, and what I call the ACEs, vitamin A, C, E, and selenium taken in combination. For more on today's show or to watch previous episodes of Wild on Health, go to cd24.com/wildhealth. And thank you all so much for watching, and unplug. Be well.